Welcome to Sipping Success, the ultimate podcast for all things beverage and alcohol. We are here to quench your thirst for insights, analysis, and a splash of entertainment. Get ready to dive into the world of beverages with us. From the latest trends to in-depth discussions with industry leaders, we've got it all covered. Whether you're a connoisseur or a curious sipper, Sipping Success is your go-to guide. Join us as we uncork knowledge, raise a glass to innovation, and help you elevate your brand to new heights. So grab your favorite drink, sit back, and let's sip success together. Tune in to Sipping Success and drink in the wisdom. Cheers. This podcast is brought to you by Mushroom Media, the go-to digital media agency for all things marketing. From crafting captivating campaigns to decoding social media sorcery, Mushroom Media is here to empower your brand and help you scale. So whether you're brewing, distilling, or concocting the next big thing, Mushroom Media has a solution for you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sipping Success. I'm your host, Casey Haakinson, and today we are joined by Ryan Thompson. Ryan is the founder of 10th Mountain Whiskey and Spirit Company. The 10th Mountain Whiskey and Spirit Company is truly an extension of the mountain lifestyle, bringing together the old with the new. Ryan has a deep passion for creating and sharing award-winning, handcrafted spirits from Vail, Colorado, that are distributed all around the country. Welcome, Ryan. I know we're just by that description, whiskey from Vail. We're very excited to hear more about you.
Hey, Casey, good to be here, man. Happy to have a good conversation with you here. This is fun.
Yeah, likewise. Okay, well, let's kind of start from, you've been at it with this company for 10 years, over 10 years. So can you share a little bit about your background, what led you to start the company, and kind of your passion behind it and where you are right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my tongue-in-cheek answer is that someone in this town is going to make whiskey sooner or later. Might as well be me, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's two of my favorite things you mentioned there, whiskey and Vail, Colorado. So I certainly love skiing, love the mountain lifestyle, the outdoor lifestyle. So I moved here in 98 and I started bartending when I first moved here for a couple of years. Then I was fortunate enough to start a restaurant about 20 years ago, the West Side Cafe. And then I started home brewing and started making my own beer, not on a commercial level by any means, just for friends and family. And I had a good time doing that. And then distillation was the next step. And I figured after bartending and running a restaurant, hell, might as well look into starting a distillery, as kind of watching what the craft movement was doing up in the first couple of years from mid 2000s, 2010. Finally took a good hard look at it, went out to Moonshine University in Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh, nice.
And got hands-on distilling knowledge there at that school. It's still around. They do a great job. Still have a great relationship with those guys. Came back, wrote a business plan, started with a little 13-gallon still. And now we use a 500-gallon combination pot column still made from Vendome. And we have a 500-gallon batch system that we use to make all of our spirits with. And like you said, we're 10 years plus into this deal and having a great time doing it.
Wow. So can you walk us through your spirits profile, like what you're offering right now?
Yeah, so we certainly hang our hat on our whiskey expressions, hence the name 10th Mountain Whiskey and Spirit Company. But we didn't want to ignore a couple of the other spirit markets that are out there. The vodka market is roughly 35% of the overall spirits market. And if you're not a aged spirits drinker, you still drink spirits, good chance you're drinking vodka. So we didn't want to ignore the vodka market, and gives us a lot of flexibilities with infusions and cocktails at our tasting room. So so we make a potato vodka. Didn't want to make a grain-based vodka, so wanted to come out with something different. And my personal favorite is potato vodka anyway. So we make a potato vodka, make a cordial, which is a sage peach vanilla cordial. We wanted to have a unique flavor that wasn't on the market on the shelves yet. And it kind of resembles a schnapps when you get done with your day of skiing and you want to sit down and relax a little bit with your friends and family. And so there's a lot of sage, a lot of peaches here in Colorado. So we use those influences to come up with a sage peach vanilla cordial. And then our last spirit is a spirit that I never really thought we'd be making. It certainly wasn't in the business plan. But I've got a friend that has a vineyard in Monterey Valley, California. And when your good friend calls you up and asks if you want 3,500 gallons of Pinot Noir grapes to make
Mm,
brandy out of, there's only one answer to that question. And so
yeah.
we figured we'd jump into the brandy market, given our partnership with the Smith Family Vineyard. And we
Okay.
distill off that Pinot Noir and then age it in our ex-bourbon cask for at least 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And now our brandy's been recognized as one of the top 3 brandies by USA Today,
Oh,
which is
wow.
kind of a fun little accolade that we've received with it. So, so the brandy is our 7th spirit that we have as well. So 4 different kinds of whiskey: a potato
Okay.
vodka, a cordial, and a brandy.
Okay. And then, so let's get to the good part then. So 4 different kinds of whiskey. So let's let everybody know, like, what are the whiskey types that you
Yeah,
have?
absolutely, right.
Yeah.
So certainly whiskey's a huge passion of not only mine but our whole team. Whiskey goes hand in hand here in the Rocky Mountains and with skiing. So the 4 different types of whiskey we make is an unaged whiskey. So
Oh,
we affectionately called out a clear mountain moonshine, but it is 100% unaged corn whiskey that's presented at 100 proof.
oh, wow.
Our next most awarded spirit is our 10th Mountain Rye whiskey,
Mhm.
presented at 86 proof. It is our most awarded spirit that gets a lot of recognition in all the awards and the competitions that are out there. So we're really proud of that. Won best in class in whiskeys of the world recently. Won 94.5 points in Jim Murray's Whiskey Bible. Gold medal out in San Fran International Spirit Comp, among other things. So then our best seller is our bourbon, 10th Mountain Bourbon.
Mhm.
Bourbon as an overall category, super hot these days, as
Mhm.
probably most of your audience is familiar with. And so our bourbon is our best seller, presented at 92 proof.
Mm.
And then our most recently released spirit is our 10th Mountain American Single Malt. And we saw what the single malt movement category was doing about 5 or 6 years ago. We got ahead of the trends a little bit and started lying down barrels then. And we released our single malt just over 2 years ago now or so. And certainly that category is picking up steam more and more every day, as you see more and more distillers coming out with their own single malts. And the TTB finally recognizing it as its own category within the whiskey classification. So those 4 different
All
kinds of
right.
whiskey. I think we're going to stop there.
Yeah.
I think we'll see. Never say never, but we're pretty happy making those 4 whiskeys and the additional 3 spirits. So
Well, congratulations. That's a lot. That's great inventory. Definitely anybody out there who's a whiskey fan or those other spirits that you mentioned, boy, a lot of good flavors to choose from. And so before we kind of dive back into our conversation here, I do want to make mention you have a gift for everybody out in the audience. So we're really happy to promote this. So for all of you out there, you can go on the 10th Whiskey website, so 10thwhiskey.com. So and in particular, make sure you're going 10thwhiskey.com. So it's 10thwhiskey.com. And then upon checkout, like right at checkout, you can enter the code SIPPING. Enter the code SIPPING for 10% off. So Ryan, we want to thank you for that, and we'll remind a couple more times throughout the podcast, but we want to thank you for that really nice gift for everybody.
yeah, absolutely, Casey. Nice way to get back to the audience here that's tuning in. So it's our pleasure for sure.
Awesome. Okay, so back into your story. You came in it from a restaurant hospitality background, decided to brew beer as a hobby, then transitioned that to what you're ultimately doing right now. So you've worn a lot of hats. You've owned a restaurant also. I failed to mention that. So what specific lessons from those experiences have you taken to 10th Whiskey, and has anything in particular helped you in your growth that maybe somebody from outside of those industries wouldn't have seen?
Yeah, well, certainly a lesson that gets beaten into everyone's skull in this business is patience, right? It's certainly not
Yeah.
You're not going to have an overnight success, especially if you're manufacturing the spirit and aging it and bottling it all on site. You can buy the juice, as everyone knows, and put your own brand on it. And maybe you'll have overnight success, but even that's getting harder and harder and harder to do these days. We're patient. It's important to have a ton of patience with this. We're 10 years plus in. It still feels like a startup to us. It's a daily grind. You have to love the grind. You have to be in it. You have to be very passionate about making good spirits, about hospitality. We have 2 tasting rooms here in Colorado. We're allowed 2 tasting rooms per manufacturing license. So one at the distillery, then one offsite. And our offsite one is at the base of Vail Ski Mountain. And so there's a lot of hospitality within the business as well. It's not just manufacturing, bottling and sales. There's certainly the hospitality goes hand in hand with everything. Hosting events and hosting different organizations, working with different philanthropic organizations as well is very important to us. So I think a big lesson is the patience factor. Another lesson is working with distributors. They're really good at taking your product from point A to point B. But until you're keeping their lights on and paying their bills like a Jack Daniels or a Maker's Mark, it's going to be really hard for their teams to get to talking about you and get to doing sales for you. So it's up to the supplier to make those sales, make those introductions to the on and off premise accounts in order to get those sales for your distributor, to take it from point A to point B, and to show your distributor that you're supporting their efforts as well. So just because you get into a new market in a new state and have a distributor behind you, all that's well and great, but your product's not going to move until you have feet on the street, knocking down doors and making the sale as well. So a lot of new distilleries and a lot of new suppliers, if you're in the brewery market or vineyards in the wine market, then that can be a tough lesson to learn for new companies just getting into the game. So I certainly echo those words when I'm talking to someone that's just starting up. And then I also encourage people to go direct to consumer as well. And if your distributor, none of our distributors have had a problem with that. They all understand the situation, what's going on. If we happen to get a lot of sales in a certain state that we have traditional distribution, that's great for that distributor because it's just going to be more pull through off the shelf. Once our buyer understands that he can go down the block and get it without having to pay necessarily a shipping on it. But still, when you're first starting out using a direct-to-consumer for 3PL, third-party fulfillment company, then that's a good way to reach distributor and get some additional reach for your brand. A little easier for wine and beer to do that than spirits, but the market's changing within the spirits industry as well. So, but there are some good workarounds out there, and there's some good companies out there that are solving that issue right now as well. So, a couple of those things are what I always talk about when I'm speaking with newer suppliers in the business. So,
yeah, and I was just going to ask you, can you kind of take us through those workarounds a little bit more, kind of those new tactics that you're seeing come through?
Yeah, in the direct to consumer market.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
Casey. Yeah. We can't ship direct to consumer ourselves, being a manufacturing distillery. Not here in Colorado. At least there are 8 reciprocal states. If you live in one of those 8 states, great. At least you can reach consumers in those other 7 states outside of yours. Here in Colorado, it is not a reciprocal state just yet. There's a lot of effort, a lot of work going on to hopefully change that, and hopefully have parity across all alcohol industries, ciders, beer, breweries, wine and spirits. And right now the spirits are not being treated in a similar fashion as the other guys are. And so within the last handful of years, there have been a number of third-party fulfillment companies that have come on board to tackle this situation and to provide a service where they will store our spirits for us, and then they will fulfill our online orders. So if your audience goes to our website, 10thwhiskey.com, buys a bottle, buys 3 bottles, whatever it is, enters that promo code sipping, by the way. So don't forget that. And then it gets shipped. Although it is our spirits, it's going to be shipped from Washington, D.C. On occasion, we'll get a consumer that says, "Hey, I thought you guys were a Colorado distillery. Why is my product coming from D.C.?" And then you just have to educate them on what's going on there. That's where our third-party fulfillment company warehouse is. and they're able to ship from there. We use a company called Rack House Connect. They're great. They're a lot of fun to work with. They get the product out in a timely fashion. Of course, they take their cut, just like any of these guys and companies do, but they need to make their cut as well. But more importantly, they share the consumer information so we can start building a relationship with that consumer, either through email marketing or social media marketing, etc. In hopes of becoming a lifelong fan of our spirits and want to think about us the next time they need a bottle for the house as well. So, and as well, the Rack House ships the product usually within a day or two of getting the order, so it's at the consumer's house within 5, 6, 7 days, depending on where they're at in the country. So, and then in Rack House and these 3PL companies, they in the same breath, they can't have a distillery manufacturing license. So they've got to work around and have checked all the boxes with the 3-tier distribution system. But one thing they can't do is have a distillery. So,
in kind of a follow-up question to all this, and I only know from a little bit of experience in my own life. I've had friends get into the beer market, and fortunately, they were able to get successful at it. Now I'm sitting here in California, and I remember some of the initial pain points they were going through, and a lot of it was, particularly at the time where they started about 10, 15 years ago, they were having, and I still think it's going on a little bit today, they were having to lobby the state of California to update their laws because they were operating on laws that were written back in the 1800s. So you mentioned some challenges or some things that are, potentially getting updated within Colorado. Are you finding that same issue in Colorado?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Casey. So we are governed by some antiquated liquor laws that don't allow us to ship direct to consumer ourselves. The second that happens and those laws change, we will bring everything in-house for a couple different reasons. One of those reasons is that we can add upsells and add our merch to that same box that has a bottle of our bourbon in it. Right now, if someone goes on our website and wants a bottle cap and a bottle of bourbon, they have to place 2 separate orders, enter their credit card 2 separate times. They're going to get 2 separate boxes, one from Colorado with a bottle cap in it, one from Washington, D.C. with our bourbon in it. A bit confusing and adds a bit of friction to the overall buying process for that consumer. And so when we are able to ship direct, we will bring it in-house. We'll bring it, and that'll add a couple more jobs here locally in the state of Colorado, which, obviously all the government likes. And then it gives us a little bit more control on what we can do with value added packaging with our hats and glassware and flasks and whatever. So looking forward to those days. It's a couple more years down the road. And I've been saying it's a couple years down the road for about 8 years now. So who knows when that sentence is actually going to be true. I certainly don't. But a lot of organizations, Colorado Distillers Guild being one of them, different distillers guilds, state guilds around the country are really focused on this. The ACSA, American Craft Spirit Association, along with ADI and Discus, they're all very focused on getting this one specific task regulation passed, so there is parity across all alcohol industries. So hopefully it'll happen soon, but man, I'm not holding my breath. So
yeah. Well, it's interesting topic nonetheless to kind of learn what you're going through. And so I mean that's definitely a challenge and an everyday obstacle for you. I hate to kind of beat this here, but are there any other obstacles or challenges that you faced that maybe you're particularly proud of, that you guys have been able to overcome and survive as a business?
Yeah, just like any manufacturing industry out there, 3-4 years ago when COVID hit and there were some supply chain challenges, if you will. Those were difficult to navigate. We are hopefully over that hump now and have that in the rear view mirror. So, but there were some challenges there that were a bit scary to work through. Just getting delays after delays after delays on all of our raw materials. Being up here in the Rocky Mountains adds another level that we have to manage, just weather-wise in the wintertime. You never know when the next snowstorm blizzards are going to be coming through. That
Mhm.
delays your next order of bottles that you're waiting on by a week or 2 weeks or whatever the case is. Hopefully that's all that it's delayed, and or your grain. But we try to, at this point, we've learned enough where this time of year we're stocking up on all of our raw materials. So hopefully we can get through the next 4 months or so, 5 months, without significant hiccups that delay us with our raw supplies. So, but it's something that we've had to, we choose to live up here in kind of a rural area in the beautiful Rockies. It would be a little easier if we lived on the Front Range and in a big city like Denver or somewhere, but
Mhm.
certainly comes with some benefits of living up here where it's a beautiful country as well. And we all
Yeah,
enjoy where we live too. So it's super
no
important,
doubt.
not only to myself, but our whole team. So
Yeah, and how big is your team?
we have about 15 full-time people and a couple part-timers.
Okay. And then, as far as your business is concerned, like, can you speak to any like metrics or KPIs you use to kind of measure success for you?
Certainly our top line revenue is a good KPI, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah. No, it's
that's
spoken very truthfully there. Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
exactly,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's something that I watch closely, that we all that and I communicate. I'm an open book to my team about what's going on with that. So that's a
Mhm.
case. That's certainly a top line revenue, but we also break that down into. I look at our two tasting rooms as separate businesses
Okay.
and how those go. They are separate businesses, but are under the same umbrella as well. But I try to make sure that they operate both profitably in and of themselves. I try to make sure that we self-distribute here in the Vail Valley. So here in Colorado, we are able to self-distribute. We
Mm,
also
okay.
have a distributor outside of our area, outside of our corridor, and so I make sure that that is being operated on a profitable level, along with the distillery, and I lump that into the distillery side of the business. And then also managing all of our distributors in the 15 different states that we're in. We don't have quite a different distributor for each state. There's a little bit of overlap in a couple of the states with
Mhm.
working with the same distributor. But out of those 15 states, we have probably 9 or 10 different distributors that we work with. So,
Okay.
and I'll watch those closely and make sure those are operating individually at a profitable level as well. So,
Okay.
um, I would love to there to be a time where all the different individual areas rise and increase all at the same time, but it always seems like I'm trying to pay attention to one aspect of the business and then get that one up to a nice level, and then I have to focus on another aspect, and just it's always a give
Yeah.
and take of where I put my energy and my time. Um, they don't all rise at the same time, unfortunately. So, and then also trying to open up new markets, right? We're talking to other
Yeah.
distributors and other markets, and so that's obviously a focus as well, to try to bring on some additional markets here in the next probably first quarter 2024 too. So
Okay. Are you able yet to share like any potential markets you're looking to open up?
yeah, we're oddly this is a bit peculiar, certainly to me, but we're about to open up Alaska,
Oh, nice.
which is fun and surprising.
Yeah.
And but there's some interest up there with our stuff for a couple different reasons. We are talking with a distributor in Louisiana as well. We just opened up, just have an opening phone call, and our opening order just landed a couple days ago with a distributor, Stone Fence Distributing, in Maine and Vermont. So those two states are
Uh-huh.
coming on board, although a little smaller states, important states to us with the ski industry and a lot of 10th Mountain influence up in that neck of the woods. So,
Okay. Yeah.
and then we're focused on Kansas and Missouri as well, doing some things there that I think are
Yeah.
going to really change some things here next year. Probably going to bring on Texas and New Mexico as well, it sounds like. So
Okay.
those are a handful of markets that we're currently looking at and talking to distributors. And but again, it goes back to what I was saying just a couple minutes ago. It's all well and great to be in a new state and a new distributor, but you got to have feet on the street and you have to have a marketing budget behind it. Otherwise, the
Yeah.
product's going to sit on the shelf for a year or two, and then that distributor is going to be calling you up, asking you to be buying back your product, and that's a hard pill to swallow when that phone call comes. So
Yeah. And to speak to Alaska for a moment, that sound kind of very interesting to me. And so do you think like the narrative behind your whiskey kind of being in the mountains is that was that kind of the impetus for starting up Alaska? I mean, that to me, that the story of where you're coming from Vail could
Right, Casey. Yeah, there's certainly
translate
some good
well.
parallels there. Exactly what you're
Yeah.
thinking. There's also a number of military bases in Alaska.
Uh,
We're in the AFE system, the Army Air Force Exchange system, so to where you
okay.
can be told that on the military bases.
Okay.
We are waiting to hear back from the Navy Exchange. We had a presentation in front of them a couple of weeks ago, so we're waiting to hear back from them. We're hopeful that they're going to bring us on board along with the Coast Guard Exchange as well. So that's a big reason that we're hopefully going to be in Alaska here soon, and a big reason why that distributor wants to bring us on board there. There's also a local grocery store / liquor store chain in the area that is interested in bringing us
Mhm.
on. So all those combined are the reasons that we're
That's
optimistic
great.
about getting into Alaska. So
That's great. And then to me, like on the other end of the spectrum, like Louisiana, that just makes sense, right? For obvious
yeah,
reasons, you know.
yeah, totally right, exactly. And also, what a lot of people don't realize is that although 10th Mountain Army Division, which is our namesake, was started in our area in the 1940s here in the Vail
Okay.
area. They were deactivated in the 50s, and then they were reactivated, and their headquarters are in upstate New York, which a lot of people, certainly if they're in the military or follow the military or have any kind of affiliation, will know that 10th Mountain Army Division is based in upstate New York at Fort Drum. But they also are
Okay.
stationed in Fort Polk, Louisiana, of all places. They're no
Okay.
longer a mountain warfare specific Army Division; they're a light infantry division. And so,
Okay.
although their headquarters are in Fort Drum, New York, they are stationed in Fort Polk, Louisiana, as well. So there's a little
Okay.
history there with the Army Division in that state of Louisiana. So.
Okay. So let's get into the name for a second. So it's named after that 10th Army Division.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, the 10th Mountain Army Division was a mountain warfare specific Army division that originated just a few miles south of where we're located here in Vail, Colorado. They
Hmm.
won some very significant battles in World War II. When they returned, they wanted to share the sport of skiing, which they had learned and fell in love with during their training here in the Rockies, and then were a ski mountaineering division over in World War II in northern Italy. And so they fell in
Okay.
love with the sport of skiing, and then they came back and wanted to share it with their friends and family, and in essence started the modern day sport of skiing and the outdoor lifestyle industry as we know. Over 60 different ski resorts across the country were started by 10th Mountain vets, Vail Mountain being one of those, Aspen Mountain, a lot of mountains up in the Northeast. Big reason that why we're up in Maine and Vermont now. The National Outdoor Leadership School, the NOLS experience, was started by a 10th Mountain vet. Nike was actually founded by a 10th Mountain vet. So Phil
Mhm.
Knight's business partner is a guy named Bill Bowerman. And if you know the story of Nike, Bill Bowerman was Phil Knight's track coach at the University of Oregon.
Mhm.
So without these guys and gals, we wouldn't be able to do what we love to do, which is skiing a great mountain and making great whiskey. And so
Yeah.
we wanted to name our distillery in honor of the 10th Mountain Army Division, and more importantly, use that as a platform, philanthropic platform to support different military nonprofits around the country, which is something that we're very proud of as well. So.
Okay, so let me pause for a second, and I do want to remind everybody, if you're listening, you can jump on the 10th Whiskey website, go to 10thwhiskey.com. So that's 10th, then the word whiskey.com. And then upon checkout, type in the code SIPPING, SIPPING, and then you'll receive a 10% discount Ryan has given to all of us to enjoy some product 10% off. And so that's very interesting. So yeah, I want to get into kind of the philanthropic nature of your brand and how it supports the military. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's something that's super important to us. We have a number of military vets on our team, not only 10th Mountain specific vets, but Marine, Air Force as well. And so it's very near and dear to our hearts, not only mine, but our 15 full-time employees, like I mentioned as well.
Mhm.
And so we work not only with local military nonprofits here in our backyard, then also regionally here in the state of Colorado, but also on a national level as well. It's something that we're always doing in a number of different ways. Sometimes it's easy, a couple bottle donation to a silent auction at one of their events. Other times it's a little more intricate and detailed. We did a barrel pick fundraiser for the Army Navy Country Club to help raise funds for their Medal of Honor library. I was just out in Arlington, Virginia this past weekend doing a dedication ceremony for that. I was in San Diego with an organization called the C4 Foundation that supports Navy SEALs and their families. So although we're named in honor of the Army Division, we certainly support all military nonprofits across the board, no matter who they're affiliated, what branch of the military they're affiliated with. And so it means a lot to us. It's a great way for us to give back. We have a fun platform of making spirits and sharing whiskeys and the camaraderie that comes with it to be able to positively affect and influence and help out and support some of these organizations. And it's certainly not just lip service for us. It's something that we're very passionate about doing. So.
Well, yeah, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. And it just sounds like it's something just a part of your daily work of what you do. So it's all a part of your brand on a daily basis. So
yeah,
thanks
absolutely.
for sharing that. And you've been listening to the Sipping Success podcast. I'm your host, Casey Haakinson. Our guest has been Ryan Thompson. He is the founder of 10th Mountain Whiskey and Spirit Company. Ryan, among telling us his very interesting story about 10th Mountain Whiskey, he's giving us 10% off. So go to 10th Mountain Whiskey, 10thmountainwhiskey.com, and that's 10th, the word whiskey.com. And then at checkout, type in the word sipping, SIPPING, for 10% off your purchase. So Ryan, we want to thank you for that. And we're down to our last couple questions here. And so always like to ask this question. You've obviously, again, you've had a big successful career in hospitality, done a lot. What advice would you give somebody maybe like your younger self that's looking to jump in the industry? What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, it's one of those things. If you don't do it today, you're going to be 1 year older one day older when you actually do it. So if you have a drive, if there's something inside you that you want to explore, give it a shot, then I think take action on it. And that's certainly if it's something that's been in your belly, in your gut for a while now, and it's not going away, then that says something you're passionate about, and you should probably pursue it. And if you don't, when you finally do, you're just going to be 1 year older when you do. So I think take action is most important. 10 years now in this business, and I'm living out one of my dreams of living in a beautiful place that I love to call home. I'm passionate about this area. I love to play in the mountains. And then I have a pretty cool gig behind it as well, that's making whiskey. And from the outside, it does sound, it's really cool and sexy. I think a lot of people can appreciate it. It's a grind as well.
Sure.
It's certainly a grind. There's a lot that goes into it on the back end of it, but if you love it, then you're not going to mind those harder days that don't flow as easily as maybe they should. Through all the work we've done with different military nonprofits, I've gotten to meet a number of different veterans and active soldiers. A number of them are single amputees, double amputees, triple amputees, burn victims, you name it, from the injuries they have sustained in the war. And so I always think, like, if I'm having a bad day, then I'll really stop and pause and think, well, my bad day is nowhere near some of the bad days of some of my close friends at this point. And so take a deep breath. It's all going to be okay. You've got 100% success rate of getting through all your bad days so far. So there's a good chance you're going to get through this, and your bad day does not compare to a lot of guys and gals' bad days that they've had in the war. So I consider all that, certainly 10 years previous starting this. Those are some good lessons that I've learned over the years. So.
Very well put. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. And then last question for you. If anybody, listening to this podcast, if they have a question for you, or even, maybe potentially want to partner with you on something, how would they best be able to reach out to you?
Yeah, certainly. I don't do social personally, but our company is very active, and I keep a good eye on that. So 10th MTN Whiskey is our social handle across all socials, Instagram, X/Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. So I do have a profile on LinkedIn. You're welcome to reach out to me there. Or my email is ryan@10thwhiskey.com. So I'm on that on a daily basis, and feel free to reach out to me there.
Okay.
Ryan, RYAN@10thwhiskey.com. So
Okay, awesome. And don't forget, 10% off code for 10th Whiskey. So jump on their website and check out all their profiles. And that's 10thwhiskey.com. So the number 10 TH and then the word whiskey.com. And then upon checkout, you'll just type in the code SIPPING, SIPPING, for 10% off. So Ryan, thanks for sharing your story. Enlightening and fun to talk about. So really enjoyed this podcast. I could probably see a part 2 coming up next year. So we might be after you for that.
let's do it. I look forward to it, Casey. This is a lot of fun, man. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Likewise. So thanks again for joining. Thank you everybody out there for listening. And until next time, this was Sipping Success.
Thanks, guys.
And that's a wrap on another insightful episode of Sipping Success, brought to you by Mushroom Media. We hope our discussions have left you thirsting for more knowledge in the world of beverages and alcohol. Stay connected with us on social media for updates. And remember, the journey to success is best enjoyed one sip at a time. Keep exploring trends, connecting with leaders, and scaling your brand. Until our glasses meet again, cheers to your continued success. And may your cups always runneth over with inspiration. We'll catch you in the next episode.